Hello and welcome to today's show, The Breakthrough Podcast. I am your host, Reba Bell. Hey guys, welcome to The Breakthrough Podcast. You guys know I am your host, Reba Bell, and this is The Breakthrough Podcast. Now, today's topic, as we know, it's going to be Still Love Is. I apologize to people that previously knew about my spiritual father coming on. We recorded, but we was having some technical difficulties. So today's podcast is going to be audio only from me. And we'll try to jump in sometime next week or the week after to try to get a video and continue the conversation we was having, because it was a very powerful conversation from my spiritual father and I. But today is just be me, and I'm just going to leave you with a snippet. I won't be on here long. Leave you with what I feel like love is, and say happy Valentine's Day to all the people out there celebrating Valentine's. Also, I want to quickly remind you, if you're listening to this audio and any other future podcasts on my platform, if you want to buy my products, the code is podcast22. So anytime you're listening to my audio or seeing my podcast on YouTube, you can click the subscribe button. Also rate us 5 stars so we can get more viewership, guys. I do this out of the goodness of my heart, but I also do it for the breakthrough of you, the listener listening to this, so we can all transform our lives. Do not forget that the word of the year is elevation. We're going to another height and another level in God. So remember, Breakthrough Podcast, you get the code podcast22 for any of my products that I offer. And don't forget to subscribe. Here is the show. Now, today I want to talk about love is. That's still the topic. Since me and my dad, we was really into a really good conversation. And of course, you guys will hear it later. But we're basically talking about what our definition of love was compared to what the definition of love really is, and how love changes over the years when you're younger to when you're older. And what a lot of times when we're younger, we think love is lust. And when we talk about lust, we're not just talking about lust in the sexual form. We're talking about lust in the non-previous way, meaning, puppy love and things like that. And what my dad was referring to is what love was. He said, it's a mode of protection, because he was talking about how Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, when God told them not to touch that one tree, but he had others, it was a form of protection, a form of love. And when we think about agape love is pure. It's not eros, it's not emotional, it's not physical, it's not what I've done for you, what you can do for me. It's pretty much pure love, no matter what. And a lot of times, like my dad was trying to say on the podcast that we was recording, a lot of times we love people with conditions. And that is not the right way to love, because you supposed to love without any conditions. And unconditional love is what it says, unconditioned. Meaning it doesn't matter if you've done something for me, and what you have done for me or didn't do for me. I love you just because I love you, because that's the love of Christ, and Christ loves us like he loves the church. And he loves us purely no matter what we do. We the biggest form of love, as we all know, is him dying on the cross. God giving his son to us, and he died on the cross. That is love. That's the purest form of love, because what other man or woman, would do that, laying your life down for someone else. And he knowing that we're going to sin, and knowing that we are human beings and who he created us to be. But knowing that the love that he has for us never changes. It never fails. So with these being said that, of course, I have to go to the scripture, because this is the Breakthrough Podcast and I am a Christian. But of course, the scripture is, most people know, Corinthians 13. And of course, it starts with Corinthians 13:4. Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrong. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects. There go that word again. Always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Now, a lot of times when we think about love, we think about what I was saying to him is that we think about love don't supposed to hurt. If God didn't love us, if God didn't love us, we wouldn't hurt. Sometimes what we think love is, we think that because we're in a relationship, a spouse, or a friendship. Because we talk about love in a lot of different ways. And I just don't want people thinking this is just about you having a spouse, you being married. It is about the love that you have genuinely for everyone. And when you see past people's flaws and see who they really are, that's a genuine love. Also, we also talked about love languages. When you love in the right, correct way, you're going to love somebody from their love language and not yours. But most of the time when we're in relationships, whether it's a friendship or a relationship, we love people the way we want to be loved and not the way they need to be loved. That's a difference. Want and need. I say that again. We love people the way we want to be loved and not the way they need to be loved. So when you think about love, you think about, I love this person because, like I talked about the dating phase. When you're in a dating phase, you all romantic and you don't want to do anything to hurt that person. And it's like, oh, I think about them all the time. And when you get together, it's googly eyes and it's, I love this person. When you're in the friendship phase, when you first meet somebody, it's like, oh, that's my girl. Oh, that's my guy. Oh, that's my homie. Or that's my best friend. I can see them being my best friend. You go out your way technically to not try to offend them. You go out of your way to not try to have an argument, or because you like, but this feeling that I'm feeling is something that I like. So when you start progressing in a relationship and a friendship, you're like, I love this person. I don't want to ever do anything to hurt or harm them. Then it goes from that to, okay, when you're in a relationship, of course, it's physical. And when you're in a friendship, it goes from, okay, we're spending time together. Let's go out. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's see what our commonality and similarities are. So when we talk about love, we look at it in different forms. But purest love, to me, from what I thought it was from years ago to what I realize it is now, is love without any conditions. Meaning, no matter if you hurt me, because we're going to get hurt. A lot of people don't think that when you're in relationships, it's inevitable. You're going to get hurt. But when you do get hurt, is your hurt painful enough where you don't go and correct it, talk to that person, talk to that friend, talk to that family member, talk to that relationship, talk to that spouse, and y'all talk through the things that hurt you? Or are we just cutting people off? Are we just breaking up just because we want to? Are we just living life and say, okay, because I don't want to get hurt, let me just go to the next relationship, or let's go to the next person, instead of accepting that love is a form, not a form of hurt, but love. You're going to get hurt in a love relationship, whether you're in a friendship or not. And it's okay. But I love you regardless of what your flaws is. I love you regardless of what you do to me. I love you regardless of how you view. A lot of times when we're in relationships, we don't want to have a different opinions because, oh my God, he or she gonna think some way, and I don't want to have an argument because I have a different opinion. Well, that's the great thing about how God created us. we have a different of opinions in any relationship, and that's actually what makes a relationship better, because it's maybe I can hear from your side, maybe you can hear from my side, not us agreeing all the time. Just think of a marriage or a relationship where they agree everything. They agree on everything all the time. That is not going to work. That's not healthy, and it's not going to, it's going to be one person pulling the other. It's also going to be one person doing more of what they want to do instead of having their own opinion. But I really don't want to do that, but because I just don't want to get into it with them, or I just don't want to argue with them, or that's something I don't want to do, I just keep it to myself. And that's when a lot of problems and underlying issues with friendships or marriages happen, because we don't want to technically offend anyone. And the offense doesn't come necessarily because of what the person is saying, because they have a different opinion. The offense comes because we never speak up for ourselves. So I also attribute another form of love to me is, how can you love someone if you do not love yourself? Now, this is a big one for me, because I feel like love goes in the same manner of loving yourself. And like the Bible say, how can you love your neighbor if you don't love yourself? And I can't love you and say I love you if I don't know my respect and my boundaries and my windows that I put up, and my the things that I do. I can't love you in the right and correct way. Also, when you love yourself, you know that you don't have to keep anything in. If the offense, like I said earlier, comes, you don't have to feel like I don't love myself to. And a lot of people don't know that they have this form of they don't love themselves. But what I would say is, when you're not realizing you don't love yourself, is because you're not putting your boundaries up. You're not speaking up for yourself. You're not talking about what hurts you. You're not talking about how can you be different. You're not feeling some type of way of, if I say this in this relationship, would it end, or would it comes to an argument? Well, I realized in the past you cannot control people, and I realized this a long time ago. You're going to control you. And if you love yourself enough to say, okay, this is my opinion. I don't have to get offended because you disagree with me. I'm going to tell you my opinion and we move on from it. And that's normal for any kind of relationship. Loving yourself is also putting up, like I said, boundaries. Boundaries for love can be, please don't talk to me like that. Please don't disrespect me. Please don't physically abuse me, emotionally abuse me. And when you do see it happen, even if you don't talk about it in the beginning, you address it when it does happen. That's loving yourself. Also, loving yourself is, I get up every morning regardless of what somebody say about me. I say it to myself in the mirror. I affirm myself. I believe in myself, so that nobody can't come in and tell me something different that I don't believe. A lot of times, people, the enemy, whatever you want to call it, comes in and you start believing what people say. And it's like, oh, you'll never be something, or you're negative, or you're this, you're that. And it's like, okay, there is constructive criticism, because people are certain things that people say they are, but there's a certain way to accept it and not accept it. It's like what my mom used to say, chew the meat and throw away the bones. Spit out the bones, whatever that old saying is. When you're loved in the correct way, and you're loving in the correct way, because it is a twofold thing. Now, that doesn't mean that if somebody's not loving you the correct way, you don't love them in the correct way. And be like, that's not love. It means that you still be who God called you to be, love them in the correct way, and let God deal with them as you're dealing with you. You don't have to go tit for tat in a relationship, a marriage, a friendship. You pretty much say your opinion, you set your boundaries, you set your goals. Love is protection. Love is honor, that I honor what you say, even though I may not agree with it. I respect what you say, even though I may not agree with it. I value you as my friend. I honor you as my friend. There are some attributes we wouldn't be connected right now if you didn't find value in me. love is finding value in that person, and whatever that person is actually saying to you, you're not getting offended from it. You're not finding offense in it. And you're like, okay, they really love me. They're saying this for my well-being. They're not saying this to technically hurt me. Now, some people do say things in daggers. I know I've done it. I've done it in relationships, marriage, friendships, where I have did things and said things to dagger and to cut throat people. But I've learned that's not the real way to love someone, because at the same time, your words and your tongue, like the Bible say, is very powerful. And you never know what footprints you are leaving on that person. And technically, if you want someone to love you in the correct way, why would you do this to someone else if you don't want that done to you? So that's just my personal experience. I only could talk about my personal experiences and be honest and transparent. That's why this is called the Breakthrough Podcast, because it's a breakthrough for you to understand what is going on with you. So to wrap it up, because we're not going to be too long on this podcast, today, I want to let you know that, remember that if you love someone and you genuinely love someone, it's not considered to what you want. It's what their needs are. Okay. Think about that with your family members and your friends after you listen to this podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share. I am here. Hopefully technical issues will be fixed next week, so we can have another virtual where you can see me, guys. I know you seen me last week on the show, and so I trying to continue this. I know you can go on my YouTube. It's the Breakthrough Podcast on my YouTube, and you can find me there too. It's some of it, most of it's audio for right now, till we can get the technical work done. This is episode 6. Love is. And I thank you guys for joining us today. And again, happy Valentine's Day to everybody that celebrate Valentine. I am going out tonight, so I'm going to celebrate my Valentine and my Valentine's Day, and I am going to enjoy myself, and I hope to see you guys next week. And sorry about the technical issues with my dad. We're going to still remain on the Love Is. We'll try to get him back on another show. And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening in on today's show. You can find me online at RebaBell.com to order any of my products or my books. Or you can find me at Instagram at BreakthroughCoach_Reba Arve. Thank you again, and see you next week.